Hey there, ladies and gents, it's your favorite Asian robot, and one day I'll be your favorite Diablo 4 content creator. I've got some relaxing sounds in the background, and today I'm going to teach you about the late game Druid build, which is the Pulverize Werebear build that I myself have switched to after the Storm build for the mid game, and I'm going to show you how to do the same thing. Okay, first and foremost, let's get into this video. I don't want to waste your time. I'm going to talk about a little something called Spirit Boons actually. A lot of people have asked me, how do you get 2 Spirit Boons in one tree? Okay, when you go to the Spirit Boon, alright, let's talk about the Eagle. Let me remove my cam for a second. Do you see this Choose Spirit thing? You can activate an additional Eagle Boon from your Spirit Boons panel. So make sure you go and choose the Eagle for this one. Alright, and that is what you will need for the late game Druid build. So let's go show off the Spirit Boons and we'll talk about them in turn. So for the first one, which is the Deer, I have taken Wariness, which allows you to take 10% reduced damage from elites. If you don't feel that you need the damage reduction, go for Gift of Stag, which will give you 10 extra maximum spirit. This is quite useful for pulverizing multiple times in a row. Okay, you definitely don't need Prickle Skin or Advantageous Beast because these are irrelevant. For the Eagle, you will want to choose 2 in that particular tree. Excuse me. You will want to start with Scythe Talons and Avian Wrath. Critical Strike Chance and Damage are your 2 best choices here. You can also go for Attack Speed in place of Critical Strike Chance. However, I'm going to state this early. Until your Critical Strike Chance is, let me see, where's mine? Critical Strike Chance should be around here somewhere. Yeah, unless your Critical Strike Chance is above 40%, I do not recommend going for Attack Speed instead, okay? So just be aware that if your critical strike chance is above 40%, go for attack speed. If it without this 5% extra, if it's below 40%, take the Scythe Talons to bump it up. All right, because more crits are good. All right, for the Wolf Tree, I went with Calamity to extend the duration of ultimate skills. There are other choices here, but they are not as relevant. So honestly, I did not use any of them. And for the Snake Tree, I went with Calm Before the Storm, because if you play this build correctly, all of your skills become nature magic. So you can cool down your ults even faster, which is pretty awesome. Your basic attack is nature magic, your trample, your pulverize, all of it becomes nature magic if played correctly. Okay? I did try out Obsidian Slam, but it was totally useless. Overload was also, obviously we don't deal in lightning damage, so it's pointless. Masochistic, not useful at all, aside from being kinky. So yeah, that basically covers it for the Spirit Boons. All right, so just to reiterate, Gift of Stag, Avian Wrath, Scythe Talons, unless you have more than 40% crit rate, then Swooping Attacks, Calamity, and last but not least, Calm Before the Storm. Let's get into the abilities now, because I don't want to waste your time. Like I said, I know these videos are long, but I also want to go through them as quickly as possible. I'm going to remove my cam so you guys can follow along with this. You're going to have to restructure this Druid build, so I'm going to go through step by step what you have to do and why you have to do it. First and foremost, Earth Spike is going to be your basic attack only if you have the following item. If you do not have Vasili's Prayer, which allows you to transform your Earth skills into Werebear skills as part of its unique effect, you cannot use Earth Spike as your basic. Alright? So Earth Spike is only your basic in this build if you have Vasili's Prayer. If you do not have that, use Maul, okay? And you would go Enhance Maul, and then finally Wild Maul. You don't want the Fierce Maul because it's totally useless. You're not using this for the AoE, it's a spirit builder. Okay, so you go with Wild Maul. This will turn you into a melee werebear until you get Vasili's Prayer, but unfortunately you don't have a choice. Once you get Vasili's Prayer, you can use Earth Spike, allowing you to be a ranged werebear, which is pretty awesome. You can also go for Enhanced Earth Spike, and then last but not least, Wild Earth Spike. Okay, so please remember this part of the tree because the build calculator will only show you Earth Spike, not the Maul version. So remember that, okay? This will allow Earth Spike to have a 10% chance of stunning for 2.5 seconds. Very long stun, FYI. And also, you will summon a second Earth Spike when hitting an immobilized or stunned enemy, which is really nice. So yeah, Earth Spike, you don't put any points into it. The reason it's 4 out of 5 is because item contribution is 3. All right, that's going to come from Insatiable Fury, which is my chess piece. That'll be talked about in the gear section, okay? So next skill that you want to get is Pulverize, okay? You want to put 5 points into Pulverize and Enhance Pulverize and then Primal Pulverize, okay? This will allow you to enemies hit by Pulverize are going to deal 20% reduced damage. This is a great way of stopping elites from killing you. All right. And Pulverize can overpower every 12 seconds while you remain healthy. This allows you to guarantee an overpower, dishing out a lot of damage. You want to go with Heart of the Wild, but you only need 1 rank in this just to unlock these two. Abundance needs to be maxed. Wild Impulses needs to be maxed. Why? Wild Impulses allows you to deal increased damage with your Pulverize. 15% multiplicative, don't sleep on this. Predatory Instinct, critical strike chance against close enemies increased by 6%, very necessary. Okay. Iron Fur, you'll want to have 9% damage reduction while in werebear form. All right, and you will, if you have all the items in this build, you will always be in werebear form. So 9% damage reduction, nothing to sniff at. Make sure you get this. Okay, next, Earthen Bulwark. Earthen Bulwark will basically be your main unstoppable skill. It basically grants you 3 seconds of unstoppable, very, very potent. Gives you a barrier that absorbs 58% of your health, and this is because of the extra 3 ranks, FYI. But basically, it gives you a huge barrier as well, makes you unstoppable, and fortifies you for 18% of base life. So use this constantly whenever you need to, and you will fortify insanely quickly. Next is Debilitating Roar. Debilitating Roar is your heal as well as your anti-elite. All right? Every roughly 17 seconds, okay, you can roar to reduce the damage dealt by nearby enemies by 70%, which is insane. This amount doesn't change. The cooldown is the only thing that changes with skill ranks. So the 3 that I'm getting from my items is all I need. Excuse me. The other thing that I would say is that it fortifies you. So it's very useful for building up your fortify quickly. And it also heals you. It lasts for 4 seconds, so you heal 16% of your total health over the duration of time. So feel free to spam this when you need to, and you will. It's your way of healing up the little bit of damage that you are going to take. Because honestly, you have an insane amount of reduction, so you don't need to worry too much about that. Okay, no passives in this area. Next passive is Nature's Reach. I just put my remaining 2 points in here. Okay, if you can get a 3rd point, go ahead, but this is more to benefit your Earth Spike and other ranged skills, which you will get later on via legendary aspects. Again, this will be covered in the legendary aspect section. So yeah, don't worry about this one too much. Next, in this tree, Trample. My Trample only has 1 point in it, but I'm getting 6 from my items. So that's a lot of extra Trample power. Trample is very useful because it is on a 12-second cooldown, which literally feels more like 10 seconds, assuming you've got decent cooldown reduction. You go for the bonus damage, Enhanced Trample, obviously, and then rather than Fortify, it's better to take Savage Trample, which can restore Spirit. I find that this is very useful. You'll want to put 1 point into Mending so that you can unlock Provocation. While you remain in Werebear form for at least 20 seconds, your next skill will overpower. This applies to all skills and not just Pulverize. This one, Enhanced Pulverize, only applies to Pulverize, but this one applies to all. So you can get a guaranteed overpower, which is pretty useful. And I sometimes use that with Trample, I sometimes use that with Pulverize. It's just basically extra damage, so you may as well have 3 ranks. If you take ranks out of this, right, it'll increase the interval. So basically at 2 ranks, it takes 25 seconds to come online. So I put 3 ranks in because I want it online as much as possible. Okay, Boulder is receiving item contribution. Don't put any points into this. Okay, where you see the blue, it's receiving bonus contribution. So if you don't see me talk about it, don't worry about it. All right, Crushing Earth, 3 out of 3 needs to be maxed. Okay, Earth skills deal 15% increased damage to slowed, stunned, immobilized, or knocked back enemies. You can inflict 3 of these statuses at any point in time. All right, and slow is guaranteed, so this is a must-have. You must also have Stone Guard, because when you have Fortify over 50% of your maximum life, Earth skills deal 12% increased damage. And guess what? If you structure this build correctly, all of your skills are Earth, which is beautiful. Okay, now coming down here, all right, Grizzly Rage is key. You want to have Prime Grizzly Rage, all right, which grants you Unstoppable while it's active, which is literally 12.5 seconds of Unstoppable, FYI. And you fortify for 8% per second while Grizzly Rage is active. If you find that you have too much fortify, you can even take an extra rank out of this safeguard and put it into Circle of Life. Up to you, personally, but you know, I leave the choice up to you. I fortify fast enough, so I don't really, you know, I fortify fast enough with just my earth skills, so I don't really think about this one as well. And also I prefer to hold my Grizzly Rage for when it's a serious situation, so I don't use it just to fortify. Thought you might need to know that. In terms of these nature magic skills, the only thing you want is Defiance, because 12% increased damage to elites is fantastic. You can put 2 ranks into Circle of Life, all right? Because you've got, you will heal plenty. So realistically speaking, you don't need the extra percentage of maximum life healing, but it's useful to have 2 ranks in here. If you find that you don't need the healing at all, just leave 1 rank in here just to unlock this. Resonance, an extra 6% damage. It's free damage. I took this because there was literally nothing else in the tree that I wanted to use. So yeah, that's about it. You don't need Natural Disaster. You can go for it if you want. I just figure I should tell you this, because once you get your exploit glyph maximized, you can take you will get basically 12% extra increased damage to vulnerable enemies, but you will have to make them vulnerable via the exploit glyph. All right, unless you want to go with Hurricane, but then you have to take out one of your other skills, so it's kind of your choice there. I prefer this format, but you can do what you feel. All right, so don't let me limit you or hold you back. So far, this has worked for me. I haven't really, you know, had a problem with it. I may swap this to Natural Disaster once my exploit glyph is online, and I'll see which one feels better. All right, but yeah, that's about it. Okay, for my key passive, there are 2 choices: Earthen Might or Ursine Strength. For me personally, I went with Ursine Strength instead of Earthen Might because of one simple reason. Ursine Strength gives you 20% additional maximum life while in Werebear form, and for 3 seconds after leaving Werebear form. You are permanently a Werebear with this build. And while healthy, you deal 30% multiplicative increased damage. Very useful. But Earthen Might, what it does is that it gives you a lucky hit chance, okay, of whenever you have a lucky hit, you have a 5% chance after triggering that lucky hit. Okay, you've got a 5% chance of either restoring all your spirit or causing your attacks to be guaranteed critical strikes for 5 seconds. Sounds good on paper, doesn't really work in practice because, yes, the critical strikes are guaranteed, but yeah, until your end game with like huge cooldown reductions, it doesn't really benefit your pulverizes, things like that. So this might be something I switch to end game, but for the time being, Ursine Strength is better because it's practically always active, so it does more for me than Earthen Might does. But I highly encourage you to play around with both and see which one you like better. Like I said, I'm going with Ursine Strength. Okay, that about covers it for the skill tree. In terms of the skills on my skill bar, I basically have Earthen Bulwark as number 1, Debilitating Roar is number 2, Trample is 3, and my ult is always number 4. Earth Spike is left click, and Pulverize is right click. Okay? Another reason why, sorry, almost forgot to mention this, and yes, I know I've promised it for a long time, it is coming. When I have time, I'll do a video on lucky hits. Basically, Earthen Might requires a lucky hit, but Earth Spike, unfortunately, unlike other basic skills, only has a 35% lucky hit chance. Even though it attacks really quickly, it's not ideal, in my opinion, to be triggering Earthen Might. A lot of your other skills don't really have high lucky hit chances either. Alright, Trample is only at 20%, and Pulverize is only at 25%, so the possibility of this triggering is even lower than stated. It's way lower than 5%, that's to tell you the truth. So I find that I gain more from Ursine Strength, which is always active. Alright? Okay, that about covers it for the skill build. Now, I'm going to go into the Paragon Tree, but first, let's have a quick word from our sponsors. Alright? Enjoy the sponsor ad, it's just here to help me out, and then after that, we will get into the Paragon Tree. So please bear with me, and we'll be right back. Hey there guys, here's a quick message from our sponsors. If you guys have not yet checked out World of Warships, alright, use the link in the description of this video to register an account and give it a go, alright? That's all I'm asking you to do. You will get a free starter pack worth a whole bunch of stuff, so yeah, give it a try, alright? They've been very nice to work with, and honestly, I had a lot of fun playing their game. This is some footage from me playing with a buddy of mine and also completely missing shots on the enemy ship right there. I hope your aim is better than mine, alright? Anyway, thanks for watching this, and back to your scheduled content. Oh yeah. Okay, ladies and gents, thank you for watching that sponsor ad. Do try out World of Warships if you feel like it. All right, my code is in the description of this video. Anyway, excuse me, coming down to the Paragon Tree. Okay, this is a different animal to tackle. No pun intended. But I'm going to try and explain it as best I can. The Paragon Tree for the Werebear is a little bit weird. Okay, and I just ask you to bear with me on this one. I started by going down the right-hand side to pick up Prime, which gives you damage. Okay, I picked up all the damage-related nodes. One of the maximum life nodes. I didn't pick this one up. All right, I tried to minimize my point spending so that I could spend where it's necessary. Your first glyph is going to be Werebear, but you'll practically never level this up until you finish your second glyph, which is Exploit. I'll explain that when we get to the second board. Okay, so Werebear is your first glyph. Make sure to activate its ability by capturing at least 40 willpower around the area. Okay, this is necessary because not only does it improve your Werebear form damage by 14.8%, which is what I have right now, but you gain 10% damage reduction while in Werebear form, basically turning you into Hank the Tank. You will never take any damage. All right, so yeah, you've got a lot of damage reduction in this build, which is pretty insane. I also came down here just for the extra armor and 8% maximum life, which is usually my choice. Okay, I could have grabbed the extra armor and maximum life nodes, but I just really wanted the minimal, and grabbing this gives you like 10% total extra maximum life. Very helpful for staying alive. Okay, but if you find that you don't need this late game, you can remove all this for spare points, but up to you. Okay, I came down here because it was just a good choice for survival. Then I went up the left-hand side for more damage, of course. Okay, capturing all the damage nodes. Only one intelligence node just to get me across to this one, so I spend the minimum amount of points. And then I went to my next board. Now, the first board you're going to use is called Survival Instincts. There's quite a few things to grab here, so I'm going to go through them step by step. All right, in the Survival Instincts board, first you want to come over to the right-hand side and grab this. Why? 60% overpower damage. You use overpower in this build. Now, you're not going to get it right away because you require 260 intelligence and 350 willpower. You're going to have to fill up most of this board before this one comes online, but when it does, 60% extra overpower damage, yeah, that's pretty good. And if you find yourself needing more overpower damage, there are two nodes here that you can capture for an extra 30%. I find the 60% enough, but I leave the decision up to you. Also, grab all the Werebear skill damage because this applies regardless. This one also gives you 10% Werebear skill damage, so it's pretty good. Then I came up here. I ignored the one that says Battle-Worn Hide because I don't need more armor, genuinely. And 4% armor isn't worth the skill points that I'm spending. All right, so here is where you come to the glyph socket, Exploit. This is the second absolutely necessary glyph for pretty much any build in the game. Almost all builds in the game will use Exploit. But Exploit is used in the Werebear build to basically, like the Barbarian build, make an enemy vulnerable for 3 seconds whenever they are damaged by me. The problem is that you need 25 dexterity to trigger this. And it is not obtainable right from the start. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 dexterity nodes within range base. This is the problem. You need to max out the exploit glyph so that you can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? And then 6 up here. So without maxing it out, and 7 here. You cannot actually capture enough dexterity nodes to make this, to trigger the additional bonus. All right? So the first thing you're going to do is dump all your Nightmare Dungeon XP points into Exploit. And that is literally your entire life until level 70. You're going to have to max this out just so that you can get the Exploit glyph up and running. Once you do, you're in a good position. But the problem is that, like I said, the nodes to access this are fairly difficult to actually grab. All right, they can cost a significant amount of points as an investment. So just be aware of that, okay? It does help your vulnerable damage, don't get me wrong. But you are going to have to invest your time, okay? So just be aware of that. But you can save some points by taking off some intelligence glyphs later on when you level up enough to meet these requirements easily. When you have enough to meet the 270 intelligence here. Now, this Grizzly node is a must-have because 20% damage while in Werebear form, and all these damage nodes, yeah, you want all this, all right? But like I said, with this Paragon board, unlike with the others, it's not straightforward. You have to, like, where you can save points, all right? You'll also want to come down both to the upper section here and to the left. Why? Because upper section here is damage while healthy. You should grab this. You can get quite a bit of extra damage while healthy, all right? And you are always healthy with this build, usually. All right, on the left-hand side, you will have damage to healthy enemies. You just want this one because it's a 50% extra bonus, and it's very useful for wiping out for your AoE wipeouts, because usually your AoE will one-shot most of the trash mobs, and this will just guarantee that one-shot no matter what, even the higher difficulties, even when you're fighting drastically above your level. This will help you guarantee those one-shots because 50%, nothing to sniff at. All right? And you get an extra 12.5 here, so 62.5 total. Coming down here, Survival Instincts. I find that this is mostly useful in boss fights, because in Werebear form, you do 1% increased damage up to 50% for every 1% difference in current life percent between you and the enemy. You're always going to be healthy, so the more an enemy is weakened, the more damage you're going to deal, which I find is very useful. So Survival Instincts was my choice. When it comes to the next board, I haven't unlocked it yet, but I'm going to go for Ancestral Guidance. Why? Because the legendary ability lets you spend 75 spirit and allows you to deal 30% increased damage for 5 seconds, which is pretty cool. All right? This is very useful, and I like it quite a bit. So this is going to be my next board, but I still have, like I said, I've still got a lot to finish here. A lot of points are going to come in for Exploit, which hasn't been nabbed at all. So all of that's going to come in, and we're going to have to work on all that. All right, so yeah, all of that is coming. Basically, this is going to be your board up till about 70-ish, depending on how many renown points you have. But yeah, that's my direction currently, and these are the kinds of choices that I've made for the Paragon board. I hope it's helpful to you. Once again, you can consult the builder if you want to refer to this, okay? Okay, let's have a cut there, all right? Because now we're going to talk about legendary aspects, gear and uniques and all that. All right, I'm gonna go step by step and I'm reshooting because I messed up. Basically, I'm gonna talk about aspects first and uniques, and then we're gonna go into gear and stats, and then finally gems. Okay, you guys ready? Let's do this. First of all, Vasili's Prayer and Insatiable Fury are your two core uniques. You must get them. Vasili's Prayer will transform all Earth skills into Werebear skills. This is a must-have because when you have this, you can use during Grizzly Rage, you can use your Earth Spike and your Earthen Bulwark. Without this, you cannot use both of those skills while in Grizzly Rage mode, okay? Because when you're in Grizzly Rage, you can only use Werebear skills. Remember that. You can test it for yourself, by the way, but you will quickly find that without Vasili's Prayer, yeah, you have to use Werebear skills mostly. Insatiable Fury will turn you into a Werebear permanently and give you 2 ranks to all Werebear skills. But now that Earth skills count as Werebear skills, guess what? They get a bonus too. So yeah, this is where all of that comes from. Okay? Great. Now that you understand these two, let's talk about the amulets and jewelry. For your amulet, you'll want to have the aspect of retaliation. At max, when the aspect is maxed, you can get 60% damage based on your amount of fortify for your pulverize core skill. Very good to have. You must have this in order to really destroy your opponents in the later stages. I'm using the base version and I'm already whacking them, so yeah, this is pretty good. And I'm pretty sure you can get this, the base version of this out of a dungeon, but I can't remember exactly which one it was. Okay, Umbral Aspect is a must-have on the ring, and you cannot use the base version. Try to get one that restores at least 3 of your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy, because you will always be able to crowd control your enemies. This is through the aspect on your boots, which I'll explain in a little while. But basically, by having this, when you pulverize and your shockwave hits the enemy, you will slow them down, therefore giving you back spirit, which is so crucial to late game fights and things like that. So it's very useful. Next, you want Trampled Earth on your next ring. This allows your trample, okay, to summon Pillars of Earth during its duration. Trample will also become an Earth skill, alright? Which basically all of your skills are Nature Magic and Earth, as well as Werebear skills. This creates that synergy and combination. So having this also gives you an extra AoE, which is really, really good. All right. It's freaking awesome. I love this, and it is core to this build. But you cannot get this one out of a dungeon, so you're going to have to find it. Same with the weapon. Shockwave aspect. You cannot find it in a dungeon. You're going to have to get it to drop. But this will turn your Pulverize into a ranged attack, dealing 168% of its damage to targets in its path. Major, major damage increase. Put this on your two-handed staff, okay? Now, in terms of your gloves, I put the Ursine Horror aspect here. This one can be found in a dungeon, all right? Of course, you want to try and maximize it if you can, but realistically, even the base version is enough because all you're doing with this is transforming Pulverize into an Earth skill, all right? This will allow you to use it in conjunction with the Nature Magic skill that I talked about and get all the benefits from these Nature Magic buffs, all right? As well as healing you. So that is how I did it with the Pulverize Druid. That's how I, formed my sustain. Okay? So Ursine Horror is core, but you can get this out of a dungeon, and the base version is more than enough. All right? Good. Next is Aspect of Disobedience. I'm using just the base version here, but of course you want to get the 50% version when you can. All right? This allows you to armor up like crazy, and it just provides so much damage reduction. So as soon as you can, grab the 50% version, slap it on, and you're good to go. This is all the reduction you need. You'll notice I'm not even using the aspect of might. I'm just using disobedience, all right? Which is awesome. All right, and for your boots, what you will need is the aspect of quicksand, which will cause damage from earth skills. Remember, all your skills are now earth skills. It will all cause them to slow enemies by whatever percentage, okay? The base version can be found in a dungeon. Base version is enough, but if you have higher level versions, slap on a higher level version, it's all good. Oops. Okay, a big thank you to Blizzard for disconnecting me mid-explanation, but anyway. Aspect of quicksand, you can get the base version out of a dungeon. 25% is enough. Get the highest if you can, but it's a luxury, like the necessity. 25% is enough because all you're using this for is to trigger crowd control damage and slow everybody with earth skills, because guess what? All of your skills count as earth, okay? Great. Now, let's get into gear, stats, and gems, okay? When it comes to gear stats, don't worry about the helmet, don't worry about the chest, because get whatever you can. These are uniques. Uniques cannot be enchanted. You just have to hope that they roll high, all right? So take what you can get, and that's what you get until you roll a different one. Until you roll another version of it, okay? In terms of your amulet, cooldown reduction is your most important stat, as always. And then after that, if you can get fury cost reduction or damage reductions, that is usually the, sorry, not fury cost reduction, spirit cost reduction, or any armor skills or whatever. All of this is pretty good. I generally go for defensive skills here. The reason is because this will affect your survival in the end game stages. However, cooldown reduction is your priority, and after that, spirit cost reduction. If you can get your spirit cost low enough, you can pulverize more often, therefore upping your damage without worrying too much. But I try to get spirit cost reduction, cooldown reduction, and then whatever defensives I can chuck on this. Okay, for your rings, critical strike chance is the standard, and then I will usually look for critical strike damage after critical strike chance, then crowd controlled enemies, and then last, vulnerable or overpower. Okay, either of these stats would be really good. For the weapon, two-handed staff is a must-have. Why? It comes baseline with damage to crowd controlled enemies, which you inflict to everybody. Okay, and on it, I will try to roll damage to crowd controlled, critical strike damage, as well as the last one is damage to vulnerable targets. Okay, these three are usually my go-tos, and the last one can be stats or whatever. Ideally, assuming 4 affixes, I would go for damage to crowd controlled, damage to slowed enemies, damage to vulnerable enemies, and critical strike damage, damage to slowed or crowd controlled enemies, crowd control preferred, and last but not least, overpower damage. All right, but yeah, basically for World Tier 3, take what you can get. When you start rolling your ancestrals, try to get a god roll. Okay, for armor, okay, we're just gonna start at the gloves because, like I said, helmet and chest piece, you've got no control. For the gloves, I always go for 3 ranks of trample, not landslide, because you don't really need it. But if you want to put 3 ranks into landslide as well, I mean, if it's a skill that is part of your set, go ahead and use it. All right, it will only buff the part of trample that hits with the landslide, so it won't buff trample itself. So I would try to get pulverize if I can, obviously, because that would be the ideal. But yeah, don't worry too much about what skill is on it. Mainly critical strike chance, attack speed. Okay, and if you can, critical strike damage. These 3 are more crucial, and then last is your skill of choice. All right, but ideally pulverize, because you're going to use it the most. Okay, for your pants, damage reductions. Get your damage reductions here as much as possible. Damage reduction fortify is perfectly fine. All right, then you can have damage reduction close or damage reduction distant. Whatever the case is, damage reduction fortify is pretty much the best choice. But after that, whatever other damage reductions you want to have, basically damage reductions, armors, this is what you want. And if you can, get skill ranks in whatever skill you're using. Here I happen to get 3 trample, so I'm using that and I'm happy. Okay, for your boots, movement speed. Movement speed and spirit cost reduction are your friend. Okay? Boots, if you combine the spirit cost reduction, just to let you know, you could cut quite a bit of spirit cost off of your pulverized skill. If you can get it to dip below 30 spirit per cast, this would actually be useful in hitting a particular breakpoint with one of your later Paragon skills. I'm not going to go into that here, but yeah, that's something I've discussed on stream with a couple of people. But if you can, of course, movement speed is your main stat, and then after that, spirit cost reduction is the next thing you're going to need. Take whatever else you can get, but of course, fortify generation is pretty helpful if you can, all right? And that's basically the stats that you're going to need for this gear, all right? After that, let's talk about gems. Gems, very simple for the druid. You only need 2 things. Number 1, skulls in your jewelry. Every bit of jewelry, skulls. Why? Because the druid is all about armor. So get more armor, because armor reduces everything, all right? Just so you know. Although it says physical damage taken is like, reduces physical damage taken from enemies of equal level by 60%. Non-physical damage taken is reduced according to your armor contribution. Basically, armor removes everything. You know, it helps to reduce damage from everything. So armor as high as possible is crucial. For your weapon, I tend to use overpower rubies for overpower damage. But if you want to, you can also go with emeralds. Critical strike damage to vulnerable targets. But I would advise this only later in the game when your critical strikes are... the chance of your critical strikes is very high. Alright. For my armor itself, I do use rubies as well for max life, but there is an alternative. You can go with sapphires to get even more damage reduction while fortified. So the werebear fortifies to max very quickly. So you can use that as well if you want additional damage reduction. You can go half and half if you want. It's genuinely your choice. For me, I'm probably going to go with sapphires at endgame. For now, I've just stuck the rubies in there because meh. I have a lot of damage reduction already and I just don't feel any need to get more. But of course, endgame I may get even more, which, you know, is something that you can consider as well for yourself. All right, that is about it for gear and stats and gems and all that. And that brings us to the end of the druid video. I know it was long. I hope the explanations helped. All right, now we're just going to do one last thing. I'm going to show you how to play it during the combat showcase. But until then, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much to everybody who watches these videos, supports my channel. And most of all, thank you to all of our donators, channel members, you know, the lovely super chatters that I've met. All these awesome people. I'm going to give a shout out to the channel members right now because these are the guys contributing every month to basically keep me alive and, you know, help me make more content. Starting right at the top, we have Death Dawning 982 at Plus Ultra. We've got OG joining us as a Prestige robot. We've got Jerry Fast, Rogue Assassin, Omen Scream Buff, and Zach MG, all Prestige. Thank you guys so much. In terms of our honored robots, we have the following individuals. We've got Maxim Lots, Corey Ryu, David Lashin, Mookie Mocha, Rena, Chase Taylor, Scuddy, Nathan Strong, Sabingu, AKJ, Lady Neo, Joey Danze, A. Ripley, Daraverse, Chade D12, I'm Peeps, Syed Assad, Coda CMF, Kami SMH, Conrad C, Nate the Great, and Benjamin Savage. Thank you guys so much, and thank you to all of our cool and weird bots as well. I will see you guys on the next one. Y'all have a good one. Enjoy the combat showcase, okay? And enjoy me glitching in and out of reality. I'll see you in a moment. Okay, ladies and gents, what up? This is me showing you how to play the Druid. Alright, I am in a tier 20 Nightmare dungeon. Enemies are going to be about level 73. My Druid is currently level 64. Alright, same build that you've seen in the video, obviously. I think you guys can understand that. I don't shift anything by now, but you're going to see basically how we do things. Okay, so first of all, you'll notice that I've got my overpower stacks, pulverize stacks. Now, I need to tell you the order of operation, meaning that if you were to trigger pulse, which one gets consumed first? If I'm not wrong, it is the pulverized one specifically gets consumed first. So I can still guarantee the overpower on trample. Alright? But you can consume both with pulverize if you want to. Alright, that's not a problem. Alright? So just make sure that you know when your overpowers are coming online and you're good to go. When it comes to actual combat, if there are no actual elites, I'll just usually run past everybody, draw them all in for a big smash. Okay? And then when I can overpower them, I will do so. Now, when I do see more, like an elite, or more than one elite, I'll start off with Grizzly Rage. Okay, I'll use Earthen Bulwark to keep my health up. Make sure that I'm always healthy to dish out max damage, right? I'll check my timers. If I know that I'm going to overpower soon, I'll stop hitting for a little while, and then I'll overpower the enemy. Try to stay away from poison, because poison is going to hurt you. Alright? And if you become unhealthy, you can't carry on smashing. Okay? Alright. Then you basically just keep moving on, exploring the dungeon. In this particular case, we are looking for Animus carriers, so I'm going to keep on going. Now, if you get CC'd, you are going to be in a bad situation. That's why make sure to turn on your Grizzly Rage, especially if the enemy like has chill affixes, and you'll basically be good to go. Alright, I use my trample for spacing. Alright, and that's basically how I play the Druid. I'll always save my defensive skills for when I need to heal or preserve my health or become unstoppable. In which case, I will use them accordingly. Alright? Where I can, of course, like I mentioned, I try and kite everybody together. But if I cannot, then that's also okay. Draw your enemies in, wait for your guaranteed overpowers, and then hit them hard. Okay, don't be afraid to use your tramples to get out of trouble, as well as to dish out plenty of damage. Alright, that's what I do consistently. And because your Earth Spike is a range skill and has very high attack speed, irrespective of what you normally do with it, you can abuse it quite nicely. And of course, it can stun, which is really fantastic as well. Alright, so if there's a tough elite, I rely on all of these lovely skills to stun him down. Now, there's another Animus carrier here, so let's go in. Alright, I've sent him into the wall. Grizzly Rage, because once again, Grizzly Rage is so free and easy to use that you shouldn't worry about it. As you can see, you've got a lot of damage reductions left, right, and center, so don't be afraid to take a little bit of damage, but also don't be afraid to use your healing and potions when you need to. Alright? Your goal is not to be Hank the Tank who never heals himself. Your goal is to actually stop the enemy, strike them down, and, you know, preserve your own health in the process, because if you don't maintain your healthy status, you are not going to deal a lot of damage. Most of your damage comes from you being healthy. Of course, the enemy being healthy is great for the first hit, but beyond that, it's all about you being healthy to dish out the maximum possible damage. Okay, so just be careful of that. Like I said, in some situations, I'll even use Earthen Bulwark right off the bat to give myself that freedom to face tank a little bit, preserve myself, and then strike back at the enemy. And if there's more than one enemy, I go straight into Grizzly Rage, because there's no sense in, you know, wasting that opportunity. Alright, like so. Okay, so it does turn out that there's a boss fight anyway. Okay, so starting out the boss fight, you know what to do. Hit him with your guaranteed overpowers, and usually I'll hit them with a Grizzly Roar first. I'll save my Earthen Bulwark for unstoppables. Okay, then I'll just keep hitting him as I go. Wait for my guaranteed overpowers. I'll use my trample on cooldown for boosted damage. Okay, and if I know I'm going to overpower next, I'll pause for a second. Alright, Earthen Bulwark when necessary. And you can pretty much face tank most bosses. And they're going to take a fantastic amount of damage from you. Alright, if you do stop him, crowd control him, you know, hit him with your full power. Alright, don't hesitate. Okay, even if he's 9 levels above you, you will not lose in boss fights because you've just got way too much sustain. Alright, and that's about it. That's how to play the Druid. Enjoy.